Good evening. I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Jamestown Public School Board to order. It is Monday, May 18th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. in the Thompson Community Room. We'd like to welcome and thank all those in the audience for attending this evening. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Outside of the previous declared conflicts of interest, are there any other conflicts of interest? Any other conflicts of interest? Any other conflicts of interest? If not, moving on. School board norms. Jamie, would you be willing to read the school board norms?
Yes. The board-developed norms are to share and respect opinions and speak with united voice once the decision has been reached, execute all duties of the school board in compliance with North Dakota Century Code, properly prepare for meetings, commit to assessing board effectiveness, and ensure high-quality governance for all stakeholders.
Thank you, Jamie. Moving on in our agenda, nothing under public communications. We have our consent agenda. Would anyone like anything removed from the consent agenda or clarification at this time? Anything removed? If not, is there a motion? Motion by Jamie to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? Second by Melissa. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Moving into our regular meeting, we have lots of recognition tonight, so this is fantastic. We're going to start with the support staff of the year. So when your name is called, please come up here and then we'll take a photo. Then we'll move on to music and we'll take a photo for that. Then Skills USA and we'll take a photo, and then food service last. And I think we have Jason, Dan, Aaron, and Melissa doing the reading of the respective groups. Are we ready? Okay. When your name is called, please meet me over here for your gift.
Please join us in recognizing Mrs. Juanita Hertz from Gusner Elementary as the support staff of the year, where she is secretary. Mrs. Hertz makes an incredible impact every day at Gusner Elementary in Jamestown Public Schools. As the welcoming face of Gusner, Juanita goes above and beyond to support students, staff, and families with kindness, professionalism, and care. Whether assisting students, supporting families, or helping wherever needed, she helps create a positive and welcoming environment for everyone who walks through the doors. Her dedication, compassion, and willingness to help make her an invaluable part of the Gusner community, and we are so grateful for all she does for JPS every day.
I know how uncomfortable it makes you, but we'll make you.
Okay, moving on to our secondary support staff of the year. Ms. Jennifer Erickson, kitchen manager at JHS. Please join us in recognizing Jennifer Erickson for the incredible impact she makes every day at Jamestown Public Schools. Jennifer's passion for feeding students goes far beyond preparing meals. She creates an environment where students feel welcomed, cared for, and valued. From the supporting scratch cooking in our schools to helping lead the summer meals program and serving the Little Blue Jays nest, Jennifer consistently goes above and beyond for students, staff, and families. Her kindness, positivity, and commitment to excellence shine through in everything she does, and we are incredibly grateful for the care and joy she brings to JPS each day.
Others want to come take pictures now. Your time will take all the time you need.
Okay, recognizing the music students, students selected for the NDMEA All-State Band, Choir, and Orchestra. We have Maya Tyson, Aaliyah Tyson, Finn Mosier, Jovi Taylor, Eden Ellingson, Sarah Perlyberg, and Ella Lean. For band, State Star recipients for band, we have for flute solo, Maya Tyson, flute ensemble, Maya Tyson, Madeline Grimm, Riley Schill, Katie Ryan, Ella Lean, and Atlas Haspargan. For their flute quartet, Madeline Grimm, Atlas Haspargan, Riley Schill, and Maya Tyson. Flute duet, Madeline Grimm and Atlas Haspargan. Trombone solo, Tyler Buckton. And trumpet trio, Parker Wallace, Delia Stout, and Zoe Haish.
Parents, come right up front.
For choir, State Vocal Star recipients. For solos, we have Braylon Gertis, Sierra Perlyberg, Aiden Lawrence, and Eden Ellingson. Ensembles, Sierra Perlyberg, Aiden Lawrence, Eden Ellingson, Tyler Dominic Buckton, Ethan Erickson, Evan Loreen, Ian Lean, Sophie Broughton, Abby Beam, Maggie Gottbold, Lily Reinartz, Emma Hoke, Elia Tyson, Jovi Taylor, Alice Sundin, Annabelle Paulson, Ava Conway, Ella Lean, Katie Hunt, Caitlin Munson, Ivy Cordell, Siri Tweeton, Annie Webster, Emma Fleeth, and Maya Tyson. And for outstanding performance at State Music for ensemble, Jovi Taylor, Elia Tyson, Maya Tyson, and Eden Ellingson.
Did you want pictures? Did you want to come up and take one? Yeah? Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
For State Orchestra, State Stars at Orchestra WDA Solo and Ensemble Contest. Senior Ensemble, Maya Tyson, Maggie Stegmiller, Autumn Roberts, Belle Shrewstrom, Patience Broderick, Luke Lefevre, Hayden Olson, Marissa Molson, Mackenzie Stoddard. For violin duet, Maya Tyson and Maggie Stegmiller. And cello bass duet, Jovi Taylor and Elia Tyson.
And then for the Skills USA recognition, the Skills USA State Leadership and Skills Conference provides students with the opportunity to demonstrate technical skills, leadership, professionalism, and career readiness through hands-on, industry-based competitions that prepare them for success in the workforce. Competitors complete a variety of industry-based tasks that reflect real-world procedures and while demonstrating professionalism, accuracy, and safety throughout the event. State was held in Wapaton on the NDSCS campus at the end of April. The awards for this are Malia Dietz, state champion in first aid, CPR, and third place in pin design. For auto collision, we have Grady Eckert, state champion, Hayden Nyes, second place, and Mason Gibson, third place. The automotive collision competition is designed to evaluate students' technical knowledge, hands-on repair skills, and workplace readiness in the collision repair industry. The competition includes a collision repair general knowledge test covering industry standards and repair procedures, along with a strong emphasis on shop safety practices. Students also demonstrate technical skills through small dent repair, metal shrinking, structural analysis, MIG welding, and both structural and cosmetic plastic welding. These events allow students to showcase their problem-solving abilities, craftsmanship, and preparedness for careers in the automotive collision repair field.
Cindy Wald, JPS Food Service Director, was awarded the North Dakota State and the Mountain Plan Region Food Service Director of the Year. Ms. Wall has transitioned the school meal program to focus on scratch cooking by investing in the necessary equipment, providing staff training, and standardizing recipes. Ms. Wall involved students through taste tests and incorporated their feedback to guide menu improvements. As meal quality improved, student participation increased by 15% at lunch and 20% at breakfast, and food waste was reduced. Through forecasting and production planning, Ms. Wall stabilized food costs, maintaining financial responsibility and compliance. Ms. Wall launched the district's first summer meal grab-and-go program, securing state approval, selecting community distribution sites, and coordinating staff, food, safety, and transportation. She developed convenient multi-day meal bundles for families and created clear communication materials to boost awareness of the program as a reliable resource for families. Ms. Wall has been a champion for quality and excellence to students at Jamestown Public Schools since 2022. Congratulations to Ms. Wall. Liz Zink is the kitchen lead at Louis L'Amour Elementary and was awarded the North Dakota School Nutrition Association Employee of the Year. Employee of the Year award recognizes non-managerial school nutrition employees for their contributions they have made throughout their school nutrition careers. The nominee is judged on 4 categories: customer service skills, creativity, commitment to professional development, dedication to the school nutrition profession, and has an SNA certificate. Ms. Zink has been supporting students at Jamestown Public Schools since 2023. Congratulations, Ms. Zink. Jennifer Erickson, the food manager at the high school, has been awarded the North Dakota School Nutrition Association Manager of the Year. The Manager of the Year award in honor of Louise Sublett is named after her, a leader in school nutrition during the mid-20th century. For over 40 years, Louise worked in many areas of food service and nutrition, including public schools, colleges, hospitals, and elderly feeding programs. Her name is given to this prestigious award because throughout her life, Louise emphasized that the success of school nutrition depends upon the professionals who work in school nutrition programs. Louise was a past president of the SNA from Tennessee. The nominees are judged on 4 categories: cafeteria environment, management and staff development, SNA involvement, school and community outreach, and has an SNA certificate or credential. Ms. Erickson has been committed to supporting students at Jamestown Public Schools since 2024. Congratulations, Ms. Erickson.
Congratulations to everyone in the respective awards. Moving on our agenda, we have a couple of correspondence. We have, we have a thank you for retirement gift from Mrs. Carpenter, and we also have a thank you for the remembrance of Larry Hoff from Lori Hoff. Under reports, we have Belle here for our student council, her last student council report.
Good evening, members of the school board. This year, Jamestown Student Council continued to work to represent students and support school activities. While student involvement was lower than we hoped, Student Council still showed up, showed their leadership, and worked on new ways to improve our school. Do you guys have any questions for me?
How's graduation week going?
Busy, very busy, yeah.
And thank you for coming this past year and sharing insights from the Student Council and all the great work that you've been doing, and we do appreciate it, and feel free to come back and visit us in the future.
Thank you.
Is
And
there any
then,
questions?
I have one comment. I just want to say thank you to Belle. I think we've had many different student council reps that have come. I feel like you have done a fantastic job at representing the student body and have exhibited great skills as a leader. So thank you for all the things that you've brought to this board and communicated. So thank you.
thank you.
There. Any other questions or comments from the board this evening? Okay. Thank you, and best of luck to you.
Thank you. And then we did elect our student council board for the following year. So at this time, I would like to introduce next year's president, Miles Curtis.
Hello, my name is Miles Curtis, and I will be the JHS Student Council Executive President for the 2026-2027 school year. Some things I'm involved in are football, basketball, track and field, DECA, and FCA. I look forward to working with you all in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, and we look forward to your reports next year, so thank you very much. Next on our agenda, we have Rachel Castid is here to talk about the Dean of Students.
Am I on? Yes. It should be coming. Here it goes. All right. I am Rachel Cassett. I am currently the Dean of Students at Louis L'Amour Elementary School, and I'm here today just to kind of tell you about the role, what I've learned through it, the challenges I faced, the things, how it's helped me improve in the different positions that I have, things like that. If you have any questions throughout, please feel free to stop me. Otherwise, I might just ramble. But yes, I'm just going to go ahead and go here. So just to give you a little bit of a background, I am the Dean of Students right now at Louis L'Amour, but I'm also an instructional coach at Roosevelt Elementary. So I've kind of had 2 roles this year. My role as the dean, I feel my job was to help support a positive school culture and climate, strengthen our behavior support systems, things like that, provide leadership and support to the administration at Louis L'Amour. So I'm currently working with Sherry Schmidt. She is the technical principal at Louis L'Amour, but I worked and learned from her there and was kind of the principal in action when she wasn't there, so learned a lot, and I'll kind of go over that too. And then obviously to build strong relationships with the students, the staff, and families at Louis L'Amour. Some things that I did, some responsibilities that I had this year. A big thing was I was just introduced to all the administrative responsibilities. This was something that I kind of considered thinking moving forward in my career path, was this something that I wanted to do? So I felt like this was a great opportunity for me to learn and experience some of those things, and I learned a lot. There's a lot of things that people don't know go into the job of an administrator. So just learning that, getting exposed to those things, learning from Sherry at Louis L'Amour and then working with other administrators throughout the district during this time has been very beneficial for me. I helped a lot with the MTSSB work at Louis L'Amour. We did a lot of behavior support with check-in, check-outs, and building expectations and doing things with that team at the school. Family communication and problem solving through Title I work and Vital Network work, things like that. So getting my hands in all of those different committees and all of those teams to help better Louis L'Amour in that way. Supporting staff with those behavior strategies like I talked about with MTSSB. Assisting with school-wide systems and expectations, so that goes along with, like I talked about, some Vital Network, some Cognia, some Title I things, all the things you guys are experts in. I got to get my feet really wet in those waters and learn a lot from the people, the other administrators and things in Jamestown. And then helping to maintain a safe, structured learning environment. Those were kind of the scope of my responsibilities at Louis L'Amour. Some of the big challenge was balancing the two roles that I have. An instructional coach is a full-time job and a dean of students is a full-time job. So balancing that and making it work so that I could be at Louis L'Amour sometimes when Mr. Schmidt was there so that I could learn firsthand from her and have some of those experiences, and then still having the responsibilities of my instructional coaching at Roosevelt was difficult at times, but I felt like the administration in both buildings and the staff in both buildings were very flexible and willing to work with me in my schedule and to make that work smoothly. I feel like just managing my time proactively, knowing that there's certain times of year as a coach that are really busy. So I knew fall, winter, and spring at the start of the school year, middle of the school year, and end, that coaching responsibilities are heavy, but they're also very heavy administratively at that time too. But just finding the balance between them was kind of something that we learned as we went as well. This kind of goes on this as well, the challenges with time and working that out between the two buildings. But like I said, I feel like the teams were very flexible with that. I also think that the mindsets that I had a lot of times, I'm a data person. I've worked with data as a coach, so that mindset in the instructional coach setting, carrying that over to administrative, I feel like is really great, but also you deal with more behavioral things and stuff like that in that leadership role as dean of students too. So just learning how to balance that and switching those mindsets, because some days I started at Roosevelt and then went to Louis L'Amour or went to Louis L'Amour and then went to Roosevelt afterwards. So just kind of turning one off and turning the other one on was difficult at times, but learning as I went with that as well. The biggest things that I learned throughout this experience, like I said, the behavior or the relationships that I built with staff and students and families, I came to realize very quickly that as a classroom teacher for 13 years, you realize that relationships drive everything you do. But I've learned in this role, it's the same, that your teaching staff and all of the individuals in your building need those relationships too. Your families need those relationships. So I think that that's been something that I've really grabbed a hold of, and it's something that I prided myself on the classroom. So it's something that I hope to continue to work on in this, in the role that I have moving forward. Being proactive versus reactive, again, just planning for what may come and having steps in place for dealing with different, whether it be behaviors or academics and goal setting, things like that, planning it ahead of time so that we're ready to respond in the moment and not trying to react. Communication, you feel sometimes like you've explained everything 3 different ways, but it's everything, and having it in as many different formats for people and sharing it multiple times with people, I've just learned is very important, and making sure that that message is as clear as possible. And sometimes having someone else check it because I think it's clear, but then someone else reads it and says, this maybe needs to be revised a little bit. So being open to that as well. The systems matter more than one-time solutions. So again, going to like the Vital Network system and the Title I system and goal setting for building, those systems are so much more important than people realize, that they help build our whole foundation. So learning more about those systems and being firsthand working with those systems has really taught me that the importance of them, and that sometimes it feels like another thing, but it really does help build a strong foundation for us. Some other skills that I've developed, like I said, a lot of documentation, a lot of tracking, things like that. Tiered support strategies for students, that's something that I worked a lot on academically and have been on behavioral teams as well, but just being kind of head of all of those has really helped me grow in those areas. Staff support tools and communication systems, again, just learning how to better communicate with families, with students, with the staff about what's going on and where we're going moving forward, just being more consistent and finding new ways to reach people. And alignment with those school-wide expectations, making sure that what we're doing in the lunchroom aligns with the same expectations of what we're doing in the classroom and on the playground and in the hallways, aligning those things as well. Working with administration throughout this, like I said, I gained a lot of insight into what goes into that job. I felt like I knew a lot, but I had so much more to learn, and that's why I feel like this role was invaluable to me, and I'll kind of talk about that more. But just collaborating, learning from other administrators, working with Mrs. Schmidt on situations like things happen and you start to question, okay, how should I handle this? What should I do moving forward? This is how I handled it when it was my classroom, but these are different kids that I'm not familiar with or that I haven't dealt with extensively before. So just learning that it's okay to ask for help, and that doesn't show weakness. It actually shows strength, in my opinion, being willing to put yourself out there. So just working with the team and asking, hey, I'm not sure exactly what I'm supposed to do. Dr. Leck told me I have to do this report, and I have no idea what it is. Can you help me? And administrators being really open to doing that, because you're learning on the fly in some of the things. So just the day-to-day realities, it was just very eye-opening in some things. But just building confidence in myself as a leader as well, I think was just huge for me. So this is kind of why I think this role matters so much. This was something, when I interviewed for this position, one of the things I talked about was that I feel like I might want to be an administrator, but I'm not 100% sure. And I feel like this was a really, really great way to learn more about it and kind of dip your toe in the water and see if it was something that I wanted to do moving forward, or other people moving forward. It just provides you real world experience without having to be the quote-unquote administrator, if that makes sense. It gave me all the opportunities to try those things and to learn in the moment without being the principal. And I got to learn, like I said, from Mrs. Schmidt and the other administrators. It helped me build a lot of leadership skills, things that I hadn't had to do before. Just you're in charge of a lot of little kids when you're in a classroom, but being in charge of adults is different, and working through some of those things was a great learning experience for me as well, or has been a great learning experience. And it just offered exposure to those things that I talked about. I really, truly feel like this is something that's ideal to people who are considering this kind of path possibly moving forward. I think just in general, it's a great experience. But I think that if you're considering a leadership role, even if it's just to be the dean of students, it just teaches you so much about how the school runs and how the systems work and how we need to be a team and work with, like I said, people in your building and people outside of your building. So I just feel like it gave me so much insight into it, and ultimately it made me decide that it was something that I wanted to do moving forward. So that's the path that I took and get to take next year. But yeah, so that's my kind of reflection on all of it, that I think it strengthens the entire school. I think that moving forward, just something to consider as a board, if you're aware, sometimes we're not aware, but if you're aware of a position that might, like someone might be leaving and you think, I think it'd be really great to get some people in these positions to see if it is something, to give them opportunities to lead, to see if it's something that they do want to move forward with, to give them that kind of practice to do that, to say, because I could have said, you know what, this wasn't for me, and that would have been okay too. Like having that experience and being in that leadership role and deciding that it wasn't for me or it was for me, I think it's just a great thing that you don't always have the opportunity to do. I know it's not always possible, but it's something to even just consider. Like if you have people who are interested in leadership, is there a way to make that a part-time position when someone is there so that they can just learn the ropes and things like that? So that's kind of my reflection and impact on my role as Dean of Students. Sorry, I told you I would ramble, but if you have any questions for me.
Any questions at all? Jason, go ahead.
Well, thank you for the presentation and your work between Louis and Roosevelt. So going into next year, what do you feel is your greatest need from the district?
I feel like I said, I feel like I would be in a completely different position had I not had this role this year. I learned so much. At the start of the year, there's just things that you don't know until you know, kind of things. Like I said, I wasn't kidding when maybe Dr. Lex says, you need to do this, and I look at someone, I'm like, what's that? I don't know what that is. You just don't know until you have to do it, because as a teacher, you don't see those things. So that's something that I've talked with Dr. Leck about, like, is there a way to, this is a word, calendarize some important events that you have to do as an administrator so you know, oh, it's January, I have to get this and this done, that kind of thing. I just think is helpful for someone who's new in the role. But like I said, I have to say that the administration is so supportive of each other that I don't have an issue asking when I get that email and I'm not sure. There's multiple people who would be willing to help.
Any other questions? Okay. I think just this Dean of Students position, from my perspective, has been a very innovative thing that the board has done. It's kind of a win-win.
Mm-hmm.
While you feel like you've gained a lot and learned a lot, it's also helps a little bit for opportunities of some succession planning and training. Mm-hmm. And I think within of all the years I've been on the board, the last 5 years, we've done a much better job in looking ahead and planning, rather than just throwing people into positions and then finding out that, like you said, you had the opportunity. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't what you wanted,
right,
you got to test the waters a bit. So,
yes, absolutely.
So I think that's so any other questions or comments? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for taking a chance on this position as well.
Thank you for taking a chance on me.
Moving on to strategic plan progress monitoring. The dashboard is there for your review. If there's any questions, please comment. Okay. Next, we have board education, professional learning opportunities in 2025 to 2026 school year. We have Amanda Schaefer and Chantel Haar. Please come forward.
Well, thank you for inviting us, and I'm just going to touch on a couple of slides. They're going to talk about their experience on the Professional Development Committee, Professional Development and Curriculum Committee, and then we'll take questions from the board on what this committee is, what we do, and why we do that. We do have quite a few members. It's a pretty big committee, but we also are short some representation, particularly from support staff. We've had support staff on that committee in the past, but we do need more support staff. I think Jada mentioned that maybe there's somebody at Roosevelt that might be interested in joining in, but that's really, it's very representative across all levels, and I think we have a great committee that comes together and can pretty efficiently run a meeting and come away with some next steps. We meet only quarterly, and really what we're looking at is long-range PD planning, trends in PD planning. Sometimes we'll have a professional development opportunity and get some immediate feedback. That means we need to change the next time that we're meeting, or we discuss things that are important at each of the levels and what they need for professional learning. We do a lot of post-survey analysis, and I think they'll talk a little bit about that, but really we're asking about impact. So how did the PD impact you in your professional practice? And then we're also asking for feedback and input both on the format and also the types. And then also we talk about timing, because different times of the year we have kind of a different need for professional learning. And so we've had a lot of good feedback from our educators that are involved and doing that survey analysis. We also have been bringing, now starting this year, bringing those curriculum selections to that committee, which I think is an important part of the process. And also I think, I hope, kind of a little bit eye-opening on what some of those expenditures look like and why we have the 6-year cycle for that. And really just overall making sure that we have good alignment between our strategic plan and the professional learning that supports us advancing that plan. This has got a little bit small. You can see a number of PD opportunities, and this is really only, I'd say it's not the one-time opportunities like Mr. Kubat going to Wahpeton and getting training there. There's a lot of one-time opportunities not included. These are just some of the ones that we had multiple people attending. When it comes to the role of this committee, it's really to just take some of the inputs that we're seeing in trends in those surveys and also discussions that they're having at their sites and try to put it into action in the next PD. So a few of the things that we've changed, we changed to add some implementation and collaboration blocks of time in the back to school schedule. I think one of the best things that we did in the last year was really our personalized professional learning planning, and this committee came with that idea and helped us refine through multiple iterations last spring and throughout this year as well, just giving us feedback as the process was rolling out. And then, as things come up, the state switches the student information system on us. We need to be responsive to what people need and support them through the professional learning process with things like that as well. And now, if you guys would come introduce yourselves as well and just talk about why did you join this group?
Hello, I'm Chantel Har. I don't know if I need the mic. I have a teacher voice. I can't really say that I applied necessarily, as Mr. Heinert called me and asked me if I would like to join. And I said sure, because I hadn't been on a committee and I thought it would be nice to participate.
I'm Amanda Schaefer. I teach first grade at Roosevelt. I was trying to remember how long this committee, is this third or fourth year?
We took applications 3 years ago.
3 years ago, okay.
Yeah.
And I've always been interested in professional development. I want to keep learning, and so I was interested, how is the district going to go about this? I want to be part of that. I want teachers' voices heard, and so that's kind of why I decided to join the committee.
How do we use surveys?
We Adam sends out surveys like immediately after our professional development days, and then we get a chance to he kind of filters them out, usually by elementary, middle school, secondary, so we kind of get in our groups, usually look through all those. We kind of look at what was the positive feedback that we got out of it, as well as the negative, so we can look forward to what do we need to change in the future, what's going well, and just kind of looking through all those comments to determine what's needed.
And I think as a different departments, especially in the high school, we get together too and discuss, well, what would be best for the English department? What do we need versus history and so on? So there's a little of that too.
Yep.
All right, so this is one of the pieces that they worked pretty hard on, and I just want to talk about this as a model for good learning experiences. This is sort of what we want for our students occasionally as well, is how do we get them to look at our set of standards, our expectations, and set a goal. So our educators through this process are asked to set a goal based on our Marzano-focused model. So that's the new model of Marzano that we adopted this year. They set a goal and kind of score themselves on those. And then they do some knowledge and skill building that's independent, and we've got some feedback this year on how to improve that process as well. Then they practice the strategy, supported with a coach, and I think that was a really effective process this year. We got a lot of good feedback from people and comments that was the best professional learning that they've had, and I think that the incentive of the flexible day, then if they participated in this process, helped push some people into a coaching cycle that hadn't experienced that before, and I think they saw the positive benefits of that. And then at the end, we did a celebration of learning that was on March 11th, and I got a chance to sit in on Gustner's. Mr. Meisner was out, and so that was a really powerful experience, a lot of good feedback from people, and a lot of just connections that maybe they hadn't made before, even between peers in a building that size, to say like, oh, you're working on that, I'm also working on that. Can we get together and do some observation or looking at some data together? So it's a good process. We have some improvements for next year, and maybe they'll speak to some of those, but I think that overall, that was probably one of the highlights of the PD committee's work from the last year. So, you want to talk a little bit about maybe how that went from your perspective and things we're thinking about?
We just looked at a lot of the feedback. You know, what did teachers need? What did they feel worked well? What didn't work well? What can we change? And we just use that to guide us as we go.
And even last year when we were working on bringing this out, Adam had kind of had a format and then got our feedback. What do you think will work? What do we need to change? We even were able to play around with Avanti is through Marzano, a platform where you can watch videos of like a strategy being used in the classroom. So we were able to use that before it was an option for something we wanted to present to staff as an option for them to use towards this personalized learning. So that was nice to kind of play around with that, see is this something that's going to work? Is this an option for us? And just always being able to input different ideas. Even we had like 10 or 12 different ways they could present their learning. And so even the committee shared, oh, well, we should add this one, or I don't know if, a lot of people go for that one. So just having all those options and being able to provide feedback. And then this year, we looked at, again, all of that information from the surveys, and I felt at our building really positive results. Like he shared, a lot of people, wow, this is one of the best days I've had in a long time. And just learning from your peers and just seeing what's going on in classrooms that you don't always get to go see. I mean, we're all busy throughout the days teaching, and so just to almost step into somebody's classroom for a little bit and hear what's going on, that was huge to have that professional development for teachers.
Yes, so high school as well. We enjoyed seeing what everyone else is doing because, yes, we get caught in your little corner of the world up there and don't get out to see what all the rest are doing, and it's nice.
Yeah.
All right, so this was new this year. We added a piece on looking at curriculum, and honestly, it was right at the end of the meeting. We didn't have a lot of chance to out-process, so I'm just kind of letting you guys go off the cuff on,
Well, I think for curriculum renewal, it was very nice. This first year I've been on this, so it was very nice for me to see what everybody has in the different levels, and just to look at it and see, is this being utilized? Is there a way we, cut costs and things like that? And just to look at it as a group, and, I went back to the high school and said things to different departments too about what we're doing and what we have, and how we can refine that a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was just nice to see, we were able to discuss like, well, who uses that program? Is it really being used? Is that something we could get rid of? How many teachers? So even Adam was talking about maybe diving into some of those statistics, like how much is it being used? And just seeing how much things cost. I mean, that's not what we're always aware of either. Like, wow, that's how much we pay for, just being shocked by some of that and just wanting to make sure it's being used then appropriately if we're funding that.
And even with the new possible curriculum development in departments, I know in the English department, we develop a lot of our own things. We pull from here, there, and everywhere to make the best possible units that we can. We don't necessarily use one textbook or one format. It's nice to have well-rounded supplies.
all right. So maybe if you could kind of just pull all that together and talk a little bit about why you feel like this committee is important and why you're going to continue on it, I hope.
Well, I think it's important because PD is not one size fits all. And as a secondary teacher over the last couple decades, it seems like a lot of the PD, and no offense, is geared more toward elementary. When you go to a lot of these seminars and workshops and things like that, it's hard to find things that are geared just toward the English classroom. Granted, there's a lot that I can adjust and adapt and make useful, but I think this makes it so much better. And I was able to, when I did the personalized PD, I was able to work with another teacher, and we aligned our curriculum. She has a junior intervention class, or excuse me, I have the juniors, she has the seniors, and so we were able to align those a little bit better and make sure that we're hitting all the standards and everything that we need to.
Yeah, I just feel like teacher voice is very important for this committee, and so I just want to continue to represent that. I've enjoyed being on it and just finding out what do people like about the PD, what do we need to change, how can we make it better, and then even just sharing at staff meetings and trying to get input from my own building has been helpful, so I feel like our voices are heard. Adam had talked about that representation. That's probably the biggest one. We just need a little wider representation. Like you said, some paraprofessional support staff, things like that. And we're working on it, so hopefully it'll come together.
All right, so just a couple things that we know crystal clear coming out of this year that we want to look at is what is the evidence of, what does strong evidence look like for that personalized professional learning process? What does the goal setting process look like? How can we improve that? And so we have some exemplars now, just like anything that you do for the first time, now we have something to build on, so feel really strong about that. Chantel kind of talked about the different specialized roles, and the most ineffective PD is we're going to talk about something so broad that it doesn't apply to anybody, and then it was just on that one day and that one time. But I think they also highlighted that, and Rachel talked about too, we have the internal expertise. And I know that the state superintendent, Levi Bachmeyer, says in our state, for sure we have the expertise, and we have, a lot of people that are also involved in state networks that we're able to kind of grow our own and lead our own professional learning as a state. It's pretty inspiring, we're not going outside as much for that because we have that internal expertise. Curriculum innovation, I think that is something we need to strongly consider. I told them about my sickness that I have with getting the price from vendors down, and sort of obsessive about it. They're probably, all the vendors are annoyed with me, but we have seen those costs escalate, even higher than insurance rates in some cases. So we're tracking those and wanting to make sure that we're being treated fairly in that process. And I think that we also have the internal expertise in a lot of cases to develop our own resources or with a subscription that might not be as costly to support the development of those resources, pulling things from multiple places, as Chantel said. And we've got the professionals and the PLC process to help the collaborative structures that will help reinforce that, I think. So just quick summary, we meet 4 times a year, but a pretty impactful committee for 4 times a year. Thank you guys for coming and representing those thoughts. And I guess at this point, we'd stand for any questions or feedback for us on the committee or how we could continue to get better.
Thank you, Adam and Chantel and Amanda. Any questions from the board at this time? Jason, go ahead.
So what percentage of the staff, thank you for coming first of all, what percentage of the staff this year participated in the personalized route?
167 teachers, right? So, and I think we had just over 100.
Yeah.
So a good percentage of them. At some schools, it was almost 100%.
Yeah.
And I think just people, it being new, some people kind of waited it out. And I think if we do a survey at the end of this year, we're going to see 90%.
Yeah, I was going to say the same. What we heard from teachers, some were very interested in the process, and others wanted to see it in action to understand what the full scope of work and expectation. And as Mr. Gaylor said, we learned a lot about the process of how to roll out, that there were, some, timelines along the way that, could have been tighter and a little more clarity around this has to be done by this point and have more checkpoints so things get completed on time, and then having exemplars that people can look to say, okay, this is what is expected. I think that, the first time you do anything, I don't know that you know those things, and you certainly don't have the resource. But now that we do, I think you're going to see that increase quite a bit. The feedback has been generally positive.
So did this, to Dr. Leck's point about some of the timeline things, and I might be off base here, but since it is a lengthy process, is there an option to allow our staff to get credit for doing this somehow? Like a credit?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that, a cafeteria credit is going to be 15 hours. And I think with a little bit more investment in the learning side of it, I think that a lot of people would be approaching that kind of commitment. I don't know for you guys how that came out, if you feel like it was equivalent. We were trying to have some parity with the investment of time for the flexible day then. And so I don't know if we're quite at 15 hours, but you might disagree. I don't know.
I would think for this year, it was maybe about 8 hours
Yeah,
of
I was
work.
gonna say
About a
8 to 10
day's worth
maybe.
of work, give or take. I guess I didn't keep track that closely, but,
Yeah.
you
I
know.
felt like it was very doable over the time frame we had.
Right.
There was plenty of time to get done what you needed to.
Right. And the waters were a little muddy.
Yeah.
But like you
It's
said, I
new.
mean,
Yeah.
it's
We're
our first
learning.
time and we're
Mhm.
learning, and it's only going to get better.
Any other questions from the board at this time? All right. Thank you again. We appreciate it. Moving on our agenda, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Leck.
So you have my written report, thank you. I want to bring attention to, I referenced this in our last meeting, and it bears continued discussion. The federal tax credit, the K-12 tax credit that was part of the big, beautiful bill. This is one of those areas that I truly believe if you fast forward 5 years from now and you look back, this is going to be a significantly impactful piece of legislation. There are terms that I'll share with you as part of this conversation, just bringing awareness to the tax credit in general. Things like SGOs, I think 2-5 years from now are going to be common to the vernacular of education. This has an opportunity and the likelihood of really pretty sweeping education impact. And so I think it's important. I don't believe, to be completely honest, that we are talking about it enough in our field. And I think we need to be talking about it more so we are prepared. We're talking about something that starts January 1st in 2027. And we have not talked about it a lot in our profession. I was fortunate enough to be a part of the AASA leadership meeting, and we had a nationally known speaker on the federal tax credit. And she was even introduced that way. If there's anybody that knows more about the tax credit than Sasha does, the difference is nominal between what she knows and has learned and applied. And so I linked that presentation to the superintendent's report, and you can look at that at your leisure. It's a little heavy and dense, but I think there's good information in there. I just want to point out a few things, and I like I said, I do believe that as the months go on, this is something that I think there should be revisiting of, that you're always staying on top of as a board, because I do think it has impacts. But at the very base level, the federal tax credit is about the ability for individuals to give donations to these scholarship granting organizations, these SGOs. And the SGOs, the individual then receives a dollar for dollar tax credit. So a dollar for dollar tax credit to give $1,700. That means that many folks are going to be giving $1,700. Then these scholarship funds get used for a wide variety of different activities that individuals can apply for. They apply to the SGO that receive the $1,700 or different donations, and then they can provide services along the lines of tutoring, after-school programming, transportation, technology, summer programming, private school tuition, and other educational services. And I'm going to talk broadly because that's what we know. We only know broadly. Even though this rolls out on January 1st, there has been one set of rules out, and there's lots of clarifications that are yet to come, and so it bears watching. Because things will change, but essentially, or it will be clarified. And so $1,700, up to $1,700 from an individual tax credit goes to the SGOs. Individual families then can write applications to these SGOs to receive these services, and they get some form of scholarship based on their need and the service. As an example, it might be after-school programming. In the past, I'm going to kind of birdwalk a little bit, but in the past, for us right now, as a matter of fact, we get 21st century after-school federal funding. That's a grant that we get from the feds. I would imagine, and I'm just speculating, but I would imagine that things like this are going to replace federal grants like after-school programming. And, the feds are going to be losing some revenue from these tax credits, and it's going to be replaced by SGOs giving out after-school programming grants. I'm just speculating, but I bet you I'm right on that. And so that's an example of how things might change a little bit. What we need to be watching is how the process is going to work. Right now, what's in law is the governor submits a list of approved SGOs. So if you think about all of the different entities that could provide a service, an educational service to families, that's a laundry list. Thousands of providers could be approved as SGOs. And so what the governor provides as a list is going to be important. If there's only a handful of SGOs, that's going to be somewhat easier to manage. If it's a laundry list of every possible provider, that's going to be harder to manage and track. I'll just give you an example. If it was approved to say there is a public school SGO and a private school SGO, that's easier to manage than here's all the public school providers or public school approved SGOs. There could be thousands from individual foundations. Jamestown Public Schools has a foundation, different foundation groups, and then private schools. You can list all the different private schools that exist just in our state. Those could all be individual SGOs, or you could do 2 buckets, public-private. So we're going to want to watch that. And while it says the governor submits, it does not say the governor selects. It says the governor submits. So legislation could direct the governor on what criteria are used for SGOs. So that's another something to watch. And I put a few other factors in there that I think are bear watching. We're seeing now a push to choice, and I don't mean that in choice just with private school vouchers, even though when we think of choice, that's kind of where our mind goes. But there's also, we've seen in Jamestown Public Schools, the growth of online providers and access to ND, North Dakota Center for Distance Learning and those classes. We've seen a desire for that kind of choice. Tutoring companies, enrichment programs, micro schools, AI schools, those are all factors that through this are likely, the realization and viability of those are likely to be accelerated. So it's something that we have to be thinking about now because all of those could access scholarships through SGOs. That makes me think about the risk and the pathways to school. We're already seeing increased competition for enrollment. That's going to accelerate through SGOs. We have to think about, do we need to shift resources into marketing and how we market public schools? More specialized opportunities to leverage what those SGOs provide. That's something that we should be thinking about as a district. And just the ability in general to access funding volatility when you consider enrollment shifts and the changing preferences of our families. So I think there's a lot of questions that come. I just think that we should be ahead of the game in awareness and continue to come back to this as regulations are shared throughout the course of the next 6 months. But I just think it's something that the board needs to continue to be on top of. I think this is something we want to be a leader of in the state and not just wait for others to start to tell us this is what's going to happen. And I do think legislatively there's going to be some directives on this. I'm sure that there's legislation that's likely already drafted in terms of creating criteria. I think the board being on top of this and advocating for what is best for public school is going to be important. So I'm going to just pause for questions because that's a heavy topic.
Any questions? Jamie?
So this goes into place January 1st. I would imagine that the list of SGOs would come out prior to that. Do we know when that would potentially come out?
I don't, and those regs haven't been, that particular hasn't been created. What I believe starts on January 1st would be the ability to donate. But SGOs have to be approved. So I'm not sure how that's all going to work with the legislative, I don't know when the deadline for that is going to be to create those. I do, like I said, believe that there's likelihood that our legislators will create some criteria that the governor has to follow. So I'm not sure how that's all going to roll out. So sorry, I don't have a great answer to your question.
Any other questions? Okay, continue.
Okay, activities report and cooperatives. Mr. Rolson came last meeting, gave a great informative presentation on our athletics. And I've also asked him to come back and share about our non-athletic activities, so you can see as well what the participation is in those different areas, what the budgetary impacts, those types of things also. So essentially the same presentation that was given for athletics, but other things that the non-athletic activities that also fall under the umbrella of the activities department. We're looking at June 1st. During the report on May 4th, we discussed the high volume of athletic cooperatives. And so just to help share the information, I created a Google sheet with an activity cooperative. So you can see by activity which schools participate in a cooperative with us. There's a lot. And how many students from those individual districts participate, and what year, is this a relatively new cooperative or is it a long-standing one? So it has a date in there as well. So I bring it more just to share information related to that. And we also talked about a reset, a cooperative reset coming and a cost-sharing, some cost-sharing discussions for cooperatives that I believe needs to come forward in the near future. So we can, continue to offer all of the programs that we have. As a corollary to that, you have a cooperative request coming from Pingree Buchanan in Boys and Girls Swim and Dive. There's really two ways to look at that, and I can share with you why my recommendation is to approve that, knowing that we have a cost-sharing discussion that's coming in the next year. There is a deadline for these things to be approved, and that deadline is coming up in June. I wish I knew the exact date. It's the first week of June, I think, is when their meeting is. It doesn't give a lot of time for us to consider a cost-share agreement. We would have to have a conversation with Pingree Buchanan. That would need to be consistent with what we do in other cooperatives. And so it's a very short runway for us, in my opinion, to determine this cost-sharing percentage in agreement to do for one group that would be treated differently than all of our other cooperatives. But it's certainly possible. So one avenue is just to say, well, this is what we do for everybody else. We give them $300. That is the standard that we use for all of our other cooperatives in place. But we share with them. This is short term. Moving forward, we're going to do a cost sharing. If that's something that you want to do, then know that that's coming in the near future. The other option you would have is just to conditionally approve it based on the agreement to cost share in the future. So, like I said, the reason that I didn't do that is the short turnaround for Pingree. They would have to have a lot of discussions, and we would have to determine what that process would look like. And given the time frame, I don't know that we have that. But like I said, that's the two pathways: approve 300 or approve cooperative agreement with a cost share. And they would have to decide if they want to participate in that or not. But my recommendation is just to go with the $300. So with that, I have a spotlight, but you've recognized all of those individuals already, and they do fantastic work, and we're very appreciative of the people. What a great thing to have all of our staff and students that were able to come here today and be recognized, and it really shows a lot about the quality of people that live in this community, our quality of our students that learn here, and the quality of our staff that facilitate that learning. So with that, I would stand for questions.
Any questions regarding the superintendent report? Okay. All right. If not, moving on. We have nothing under old business. Under new business, under activities, the approval of the activities cooperative agreement, Boys and Girls Swim and Diving, Pingree Buchanan School, Girls Swim and Diving, Pingree Buchanan School, 1 and 2. And as Dr. Lick mentioned, we probably have a couple different directions to go. We could approve it at the current rate that we have in place, or we could approve it pending our a cost share that we're looking at into the future. Is someone like to entertain a motion? Dan?
I move we accept as presented.
Okay, there's a motion to accept it as presented. Is there a second? Second by Aaron. We have a motion and a second to approve the activities cooperative agreement for the Boys and Girls Swim and Dive team with Pingree Buchanan School. Any discussion? Any discussion? Yep, Owen.
Yeah, I think we have the data in front of us already. I think you gave an example with the cross country. I think it could be a plug and play and start us on the path of updating these, because I think, either through open enrollment, getting more students at our schools to participate as students at JPS, 66 students right there is a lot of revenue. And so I think if that's not in the best interest of the families, then I think we need to be more cognizant of the cost savings to the district. And we have the data in front of us, and I think, especially with swimming, it's a pretty high overhead sport. And so I would support actually addressing or agreeing to the co-op with the actual cost from the 25-26 year, but not the $300.
And Dan, your motion at this point was for the $300. Okay, just confirming that we're all on the same page here. So we have a motion and a second right now for the $300. We haven't moved to the cost sharing yet. That's my only concern. But I think it's certainly, we could approve this for maybe 1 year conditionally or something, and then reset after that, or is there some different options with the contract language?
Yeah, I think both options are viable. I mean, the $300, you know, there's pros and cons to both ways. $300 treats every existing, treats our cooperatives all the same. There's equity between, everybody's treated exactly the same. And, you know, that's the reason I picked $300. Is it unreasonable to say, well, we've got the data and we can go down a path and make a selection or give that option? Yes, you can do that. The reason I didn't pick that is then you have different structures for different cooperatives. And, you know, and I struggled with a recommendation that treated cooperatives differently. That's the only reason why. But both are viable options.
So my question is, if we pursue the discussions that we've been having on a reset, that could not take place until the following year, right? Because of that June deadline of approval and all those kinds of things. Is that correct? We couldn't do it for next year for the other contracts?
Oh, right. A reset really needs to take a year.
Takes a year.
So you
That's what I
can go
just
back
wanted-
to
Yep.
districts and communicate. I don't know that we would have the time to do that for all right now.
Okay,
That would be my concern.
That's what I assumed, but I just wanted to clarify. So right now, the motion is second on, Aaron?
Yeah, it's kind of just more so of a question. We have several cooperative agreements in place that are basically in perpetuity right now, correct?
They're all in perpetuity.
Yeah.
All the ones that you see are in perpetuity. A reset would erase all of those and allow JPS to go back to those districts and say, you know, we used to have this model that said $300.
Yep.
Now we're going to have a model in which you pay on a per pupil, per cost, per activity cost. Do you still want this cooperative in place?
Right, right.
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess that'd just be my position on that, is to, you know, kind of take a broad look at everything and do it all at once versus, you know, one at a time and working through it that way. Just my preference.
Okay. So we have a motion. Melissa, did you have a?
I was just going to say on top of that, yeah, we need to give the other districts some heads up on that. We can't just be like, oh, hey, we're changing your agreement all of a sudden. So while I do agree we need to do a little bit better job of recouping some of those costs, I think we need to give those districts time to absorb that into their budgets. So.
Okay. So right now we have a motion, a second on the table for the fee the standard fee. There's been some also discussion about looking into the future of using the data for cost sharing model. Any other discussion? If not, yep, Jason.
So progressing that reset, would that be on Mr. Rolson's plate or central office staff? Just kind of a timeline. If we're going to make this happen, what would that look like?
Well, initially, that would start with Mr. Rolson reaching out to the different districts and saying, well, I guess first it would be determining a consistent process to determine those costs per pupil. That's going to be different for every activity. If we do it that way, if we base it by activity, if we take an average, that might be a consistent across. But I think the way we would want to do it is by activity. You know, so we would first have to develop that structure, then go to the two different districts, share what that process is, give them a sample of what that cost would be, and at least, and again, knowing that it would change from year to year, and then give that to them so by winter, they're able to see, okay, we want to make that commitment. Now, a number of the, in my opinion, of the cooperatives we have in place, was started for one family. And when that family graduated or left their district, that cooperative still exists, but we haven't accessed it for a number of years. And so they're probably just going to say, we're no longer interested. And I think you're going to get to a smaller number of cooperatives than what we have right now. So, Winter?
Any other discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, again, we're approving the same fee, the $300 fee. And we can do a roll call vote, I guess. Go ahead. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Melissa Gleason? Yes. Owen McKenna?
No.
Jamie Bear? Yes. Heidi Larson?
Yes.
Jason Rohr?
Yes.
Jacob Meyer?
Yes.
Dan Tweeten?
Yes.
Aaron Roberts?
Yes.
Steve Feldkamp?
Yes.
8 to 1.
Yeah, pass. Motion approved. And just a follow-up on the discussion, will that, to the board, does it make sense just to put that back to the finance committee, maybe to start some more detailed discussions on that, and then bring it back to the board, and then as far as a process? Yeah, we definitely have to have him, the finance committee has looked through some of the bigger picture items of activities, but just kind of wanting some direction from the board also with the next move in this process. Because it seems like there's an appetite for looking it over. Yes, Owen?
Yeah, I was thinking that Mr. Rolton has the data in front of him, and I think the big decision to me is, do we just do the direct costs or the indirect costs as well? Because from what I've seen from the swim team, it's an extra $1,000 on top of that 300 for direct costs, but then indirect costs could be another extra $1,000 on top of that. So I think those are the big decisions that I think finance committee could weigh in on, but action is needed.
Yeah, and I agree on a very consistent process that's very clear, that a district isn't saying, oh, this one's doing this and this one's doing this. So I think we need a real clear process that's easy to understand. So, all right, any other discussion on that? And we'll kind of send that for a follow-up. So that's good? Okay. Moving on in our agenda, nothing under buildings, grounds, curriculum assessment instruction. Under finance, approval of the Jamestown Gymnastics Club rental agreement. Is there a motion? Motion by Jamie, second by Jason. We have a motion and a second for approval of the Jamestown Gymnastics Club rental agreement. Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. On the general fund balance and the monthly financials are there for your information. Any questions for Christy at this time? Okay. Nothing under operations. Under personnel, approval of the resignation at the conclusion of the 2025 to 2026 school year. Number 1, Sadie Lecht. Number 2, Dr. Rob Black. 3, Kevin Kubat. Number 4, Paul Munson. Is there a motion? Motion by Owen. A second by Melissa. We have a motion and a second for approval of the resignation at the conclusion of the 2025 to 2026 school year. Sadie Lecht, Dr. Rob Leck, Kevin Kubat, and Paul Munson. Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried, and thank you to all of them for their years of service to the district. And the next on the agenda is transition. Now that we've approved the resignation of our superintendent, some transition planning. I sort of outlined 3 different options just for board discussion. And it doesn't mean it has to be one of those options, but just to guide our discussion. I think we've done some transition planning, as I mentioned even before. The board has done a better job of transition planning in the last 5 years, and so I think that has been helpful. So option 1 would be to, very short term, more quickly, appoint an interim and see how that goes. We can appoint an interim and open a position And lastly, which I'm not necessarily in favor of, but I do need to bring that, is just open the position without having and appointing an interim at this time. So go ahead, and what are thoughts on that? I've had some, go ahead, Melissa.
When you're talking about appointing an interim, is that something that you would ask people to apply for that? Or are you thinking just a group of people get together and say, hey, we like this person, and approach that person? How is that going to look?
So does the board, any other comments from the board here at this time? Okay, Jason. Yeah.
Just a question. I only heard two options there.
Oh.
Could you go through them again, please?
The one would be to appoint an interim in the more immediate future. I'm thinking a special meeting probably in the next week or so. The reason that I like that option is we have Dr. Leck here for a shorter period of time here, and we would want to use that time for some more transitioning. The second would be to appoint an interim and open a superintendent position. Lastly is to just open a position, which I'm not necessarily in favor of at this time of year. And I've also, for the board's awareness, I've had a conversation with Mr. Gaylor, and he is very willing, and whatever the board needs him to do, he's willing to step in and serve in any capacity that the board is wanting him to do. So I know this has all happened very quickly, and we had a board meeting last Thursday, Friday, and a board meeting today. So I wanted to provide some time for discussion, and like I said, my thoughts were then give some time for everything to digest in a special meeting. Yep, Owen.
Yeah, I think the second option of appointing an interim and opening a search right away, I think runs into the same issue of just running a search, right? I think with the timing of right now, and this is when people are signing contracts
or signed, yeah.
I think it's going to be a heavy lift from the board, and I think that's what I've been thinking about is it's a process we shouldn't take lightly, and if it's something that we're going to speed run, and especially not during the school year when, if we're bringing in outside candidates to see what we do and who we are, I don't know. That's the piece where it's leaning against trying to open the position as well. So.
Any other discussion? Oh, Dan, sorry.
Kind of a policy question. Do we have anything in policy that so in the absence of a superintendent, who's the second in the command, or who makes that call?
Well, I can answer that in the sense of the board could establish an interim candidate that in absence of, that would essentially be, I'm not sure, maybe I'm not answering your question, but that is a board decision. You could list a qualified candidate in an interim capacity, and that was the option number one that was shared, is establishing, the obvious reason for that would be to ensure continuity, to provide clear direction for staff on, procedures, and that we're going to continue rowing the boat in the same direction. That clarity would be provided in an interim that individual would be qualified and would have all of the responsibilities. It's just not an opened position. And so what you would be able to do as a board is, say you're 6 months down the line, you have an interim established, you could then make a decision as a board, okay, we want to, this is the person we want, and that person wants to continue. The board, without opening that position, would be able to remove the interim label and just make that person the superintendent. If you wanted to open the position, you would still have a person acting as that superintendent throughout the duration of the next year. while you're conducting a search. So from a continuity standpoint, everything would be consistent for staff and community.
Yeah, I think the consistency, as you mentioned, is important, but I even just think of the day-to-day. I mean, documents need to be signed, things need to be, you know, there's a lot of day-to-day operations that, you know, I think we need some stability with that. Yes, Melissa?
And maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I believe too that when we first were thinking about the idea of Mr. Gaylord's position, this was the reason for that, is so that we would have somebody who was trained in, so that they could step in.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, you are correct on that, and I do believe that that has happened, and with anytime in Dr. Luck's absence, Adam is the one that's been serving in that role, so it's sort of a dean of students sort of opportunity. Yeah, Dr. Luck.
You're right, Melissa. If you remember the board memo from a couple of years ago when we talked about this position, we identified one significant organizational risk was succession, and that was discussed as one of the benefits of the position was succession.
Steve?
If we do, or if we would open up the application process, how much of that are we required to actually go through? Like, do we have to have interviews and do we have to hire? Or can you just walk away from that if we don't have any qualified applicants or anybody we want to interview?
You could open a position and close a position without hiring a position.
You'd have to review, obviously, go through the reviewing process, but just the time, you know, if any of you have just been on a principal search here, just that timeline is quite some time, and people would have, and a lot of districts signed contracts already. So I also look at the time that Dr. Luck is still here, and he also has some vacation opportunity as well, and so that 6 weeks here, 5 weeks is, you know, we want to take advantage of that time, I guess, is something I was also thinking about. So that's why I was also thinking about even a special meeting within a week or so, just to start moving the process forward. So, just direction from the board. I guess my thought was a special meeting, just to let it digest a little bit, but I guess, you know, other thoughts, Jamie?
I mean, I guess I agree with Owen. I think appointing an intern and then next year opening up something or hiring, whatever we decide at the time how that goes. But yeah, everything kind of time-wise needs to happen relatively quickly, and so yeah, that would be.
Aaron?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for your service. It's been a joy working with you. I really appreciate everything that we've done together, and then good luck to your new position. In my opinion, I think we have a very qualified candidate who could step in today, and we could assign him that interim position and give him the opportunity to see how that works out from a mutually beneficial standpoint, evaluate him. And if he would consider taking that on full-time, I'd fully support that. And then I think that we should also entertain the discussion then on, is it a superintendent's position or is it the other position that we would want to open up to backfill for that? I think that is a very, I think the district has benefited greatly from having that position, from what Adam has done with all of, you know, just with the presentation today and how, you know, the support of staff and students and all that. I think it's a needed position. And if we do put Adam into that interim position, I think we need to make sure that his duties are scaled appropriately, so he's not doing 2 full-time jobs, and expectations are there that, you know, maybe we don't get all the grants written that we want, other activities that he supports, and he's able to focus on the primary position that we would assign him to. So I would support going down that path of getting that interim and then seeing where we go from there.
Owen?
Yeah, and to build off of that, I agree, and I think that would be wise at a special meeting too, to not only think about the person that's going to be in the interim role, but how's that going to shift, and how's that going to affect downstream as well at other admin and the CTC and all those things. And so I think if we can get out in front of that and not just assume those things will fall in place and people burn out, I think that would be really cognizant of us too.
Yeah, I just want to build back on that because there might be opportunities for other positions that we have out there that they may need to step up as well, and maybe we need to shift some job roles. So it might be a little bit more, I don't want to say global, but a broad adjustment that we might have to make in order to, make it as smooth as possible.
I do agree with both of you. I think first and foremost, we need to get that interim position so the district can get things signed. Staff knows the process. But I think how we backfill, we may just want to pause just for a little bit and evaluate and just see how, I think any time you have a change, it gives you an opportunity also to evaluate and see how, should we do this differently? Or maybe we shouldn't. Is there different opportunities? So I think I agree with both Owen and Aaron. Jason, did you have a comment? Okay. Steve.
Is there opportunity to appoint tonight, or do we need a special meeting?
I do have transition planning on the agenda. In my mind, at the time, I was thinking a special meeting, if we think that is clear enough on the agenda. Dr. Leck, would you like to weigh in?
Really, it's a board decision. It's what the board feels comfortable with. If you have a direction that the majority of the board wants to move forward with now, you could do that. If you want to give yourself some time to process and have a special board meeting in a couple of days, you can do that as well. If you want to direct me to create some options that you could look to, and some of the questions that came up about, well, what do we do with other positions and what are options that we could look at, I could do that too. Those don't have to be the same discussion. Those can be separate items. My only suggestion would be to make sure that you have a decision in the near term, because staff and community need to know what that process is and what needs to happen moving forward. I don't know that 2 days is really going to make a huge difference to that decision, but if you know and you think you want to have a direction, you're very clear to do that, I would say.
Okay. Jacob first. Jacob, go ahead.
Yep, I would just say that I think there's some issues that have been brought up with backfilling Adam's current position that probably needs some more discussion. Dr. Leck, you just alluded to it, that maybe finding some transition plans for that is something we should maybe hold off on and is in need of a larger discussion before we make a final decision. So I would be in favor of a special meeting with that information in place.
Jason.
Yeah, I would agree with the special meeting too, also from the standpoint of what salary might look like also. And I think we all are in consensus that we do have the right person here, but maybe just a little more thought through what some of that might look like before taking that step.
Okay. I'll have Amy send out a doodle on some times. I'll get together with her and get some times for a special meeting. And it'll either be, probably this week yet. I'll have maybe Adam and Dr. Leck get together and maybe talk with other folks as well, just to kind of get a plan together short term, so the board is really comfortable that everything's still moving moving forward, and there's not going to be any glitches. So, does that sound good to you? Yes.
One more thing, getting
Yes.
back to Melissa's original question. As this discussion progresses and there is the possibility of maybe bringing in an external candidate, if we decide that the backfilling of Adam's current position isn't, the best interest, can we make sure that we're including for the special meeting a process for potentially bringing in an external candidate, or what that process would look like?
Sure. Yeah, we can certainly do that. We'll have lots of documents to read. Yeah.
Want to make sure we have all our options covered.
No, I agree, Jacob. Yeah, no, we'll like I said, I wasn't actually kidding about that. We'll have lots of different scenarios and options and maybe the board will decide to just even wait for a little bit, and that's okay too. But I think we need all the information that we can get. Like I said, this happened rather quickly, and with the meeting being scheduled today, we need to start moving forward with it. But I also thought we might need a little time to process everything, process our discussions, and then gather some more information that the board is looking for, and then schedule a special meeting. Okay. Anything else at this time? Dr. Luck.
Contrary to popular belief, I'm actually a big softie, and so I wasn't really planning to have any kind of comments, but Mr. Roberts kind of opened the gate on that, and I just wanted to thank the board, the opportunity to be here. 13 years of leading Jamestown Public Schools has been a real blessing, personally and professionally. I think if you look pound for pound, if you look at the team that we have at Jamestown Public Schools, that'll rival anybody, any district, anywhere. And I think you are making a really wise choice in naming interim, and I think you're making a wise choice in taking a little bit of time. Even when you know the right things, the right person to put in place, taking a little bit of extra time to make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. I think the message that needs to be shared is you have a good person is the right succession, but you want to make sure that all the steps are in place first. And I think that's the right choice to make, even when you have the right person. But again, I just wanted to thank you all for the opportunity. It has been a blessing for me and my family. We've had, 2 boys that have graduated from Jamestown High School, and they're who they are because of the teachers, their friends, and the community. And this is a community that supports education, and what a great thing that is. And I know that the trajectory of Jamestown Public Schools is not dependent upon the person that sits in a certain chair or that has a certain title. It's a collective of really, really good people that are here leading the district. And I do apologize for the timing. I wish it wasn't the case. It seems like I made this comment a few times that I never in a million years thought I would leave a district in May. And I'm sorry that the position is what it is. I wish I had been able to control that variable, but I really wasn't. It is the way it was. And so I wish that we weren't in an interim type of scenario. But I will say, I think, I'm going to tell you right now, Adam Gaylor will do a wonderful job for this community in an interim basis or whatever basis you place him in. Will do an outstanding job of leading the people and supporting the students of this district. So thanks for everything. Great appreciation. And I will say that as a board, you are a model board for how other school boards should operate. And I think, that the reason we are moving in the direction that we're moving is equally as part of how good of a job this board has done as any other reason. So thank you. Put yourself in another place.
And we'll have a final meeting in the future where we can express our thanks to you. So, but thank you also for your years of service. Yes.
So we do get cake?
I'm hoping cheesecake.
Cupcakes, yes.
Oh. Okay, policies and procedures. Approval, is that okay if we do them all together? Is everyone okay? Approval of policies. Number 1, amended HBAA Federal Fiscal Compliance and attachment amended HBA-AR1 Federal Fund Expenditures and Inventory Requirements. Amended HCAA purchasing, and 3, amended ICCB, disposal of school equipment and supplies, with subsequent review of HBCC-E fundraising request form. Is there a motion? Motion by Steve. Second by Aaron. We have a motion, a second for approval of policies 1 through 3 with their subsequent attachments. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion approved. Under tuition, we have approval of tuition agreement number 1, Yellowstone. Is there a motion? Motion by Melissa. Second by Dan. We have a motion, a second for approval of tuition agreement number 1, Yellowstone. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? If not, assuming roll call vote, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Under other election report, is that just for information, or do we need to go over that? Sure.
As you know, we have our school board election coming up in June, and there are 3 city seats and 2 rural. The election will be to elect 2 representatives from rural Jamestown Public School District and 3 representatives from the city of Jamestown. The candidates for the city are Chris Kremlak, Jennifer Cross, Heidi Heim-Larson, Jason Rohr, Mindy Skungberg, and Max Post Vanderberg. For rural is Melissa Gleason and Stephen Veldkamp. The polling locations are at the Jamestown Civic Center, and then also American Legion for Stutzman County residents residing in precinct 472910, and that is in Medina, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Thank you, Christy. Jason, go ahead.
Is there early voting in the primary? Does anybody know?
I'm not there. You could get absentee ballots, but I'm not sure about early voting. I could find out for you.
Okay. Any items for thank you, Christy. Any items for future agendas? Any items? Okay. If not, please let me know. Board announcements and future meetings. We have teacher negotiations meeting on Tuesday, May 19th, 2026 at 4:30 p.m. in the Thompson Community Room at the middle school. JPS High School graduation on Sunday, May 24th, 2026, 2:30 p.m. the Jamestown Civic Center. Jamie Bear, Dan Tweeden, Aaron Roberts, and Heidi Larson. School board meeting on Monday, June 1st, 2026, 5:30 p.m. in the Thompson Community Room at the middle school. We will be scheduling a special meeting this week to finalize our leadership plans for the transition, and there's going to be a strategic planning meeting, and it's going to be the first week of June, as soon as I give Amy my availability on that one, and that will be posted on the school calendar. It will actually be probably after our next meeting. Any other meetings right now? Yep, Owen?
Were we planning on doing a board retreat at all in June?
June, yeah.
It's
I don't-
coming up. Should
Yeah,
we set a
it
date
is.
for that?
We should.
Okay.
Another
let's do it.
doodle. All right. Another doodle. All right. Maybe lakeside or something. We'll have to plan that. Any other one? Finance, I think there was a doodle just sent out. Yep, there's a doodle out for finance, so that'll be in the next few weeks. Next week, that'll be next week.
And we
finance
talk
meeting.
strategic plan the week after.
And strategic
that.
plan is the first week of June, yep. Dan, is there missing any other ones? That was the one? Okay. All right, any other meetings? Okay. They will all also be posted on the school calendar, but I also like to announce them here. Possible executive session to discuss negotiation strategies. Aaron, Owen.
I believe that discussion with our negotiations and developing a strategy relative to the school board's petition in this matter in open session would have an adverse fiscal effect on negotiations position of the board. Therefore, I move that the board enter into executive session and that the following members and negotiators be identified as being present. School board members Jamie Bear, Melissa Gleason, Heidi Larson, Owen McKenna, Jason Rohr, Dan Tweeten, and Steve Veldkamp. Superintendent Robert Leck, Adam Gaylor, and Business Manager Christy Grounds. The date and time are Monday, May 18th at 7:15 p.m. and that the only topic will be considered in executive session is negotiation strategies. And the legal authority of this executive session is section 44-04-19.1 of the North Dakota Century Code, and that this executive session will be recorded.
Is there a second? I'll second. A second by Jason. We have a motion, a second for the possible executive session to discuss negotiation strategies. Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. The board will, following an executive session, the board will return to regular session to close out the meeting. The only topic that will be discussed in executive session is to discuss negotiation strategies.